I swear it's not even 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm already recording. My days have gotten so weird. It'll be so weird because it'll be like 8 o'clock in the morning or something. And I'll be sitting there and be like, man, I've done everything I was going to do all day. and so anyways, there's like a few things I wanted to talk about. One of the things is, when I was laying back there and Stella started waking me up, I still feel really out of it. I feel tired. Like I wanted to stay asleep, but when she starts pacing and her nails clickety clacking and going and she's panting and all that stuff, it's like you can't sleep through that in a tiny house. And so, with wood floors. So I was like, okay, I think I fell asleep. I don't know. It seems like I was like 7:30 or 8. It was pretty early. So I was like, I've already been asleep for a few hours. I'll just get up. And then it was 2:30. And so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna lay back down. So I was laying there, and then she came back in the bedroom, like, you're getting up. And so I got up and I start, right away, she needs this, she wants that, and blah, blah, blah. So I start doing that and put it on my tea water and stuff. And then I finally get over to my phone, and it has a bunch of missed FaceTime calls and messages and stuff. So I picked it up, like, when you're super tired, it takes you a minute to even like process, you look at, to me especially, just look at it, like trying to figure out what is that. And then, so I don't know. When I sat down, so I'd been up for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then I sat down, and then I saw them as FaceTime calls were 2:22. So I think that my phone started ringing, and that's why she was coming to get me up, because I think it was ringing out here, but I didn't hear it. And so yeah, and most of the time I put it on Do Not Disturb, because I know if it does little chimes and stuff, it's going to wake her up all night. And so, but I had forgotten. And I don't know, maybe I did. I don't know. I don't think I took it off of Do Not. I don't know. I'm telling you, every day just runs into the next day. It was reminding me so much of when I first got my brain injury. And it would be like, did that happen? When did that happen? What day is it? Did that happen a week ago? Did that, like, I just am like lost in time. I swear to God. There's so many different little phrases now that have taken on whole new meaning to me. But, so anyways, the bad news is, so Petey, the dog that has the cancer, who was getting the chemo and stuff, he got bloat last night. And so she was calling me because they were at the vet. And they said there's nothing they can do but put him down, even if they could do the surgery, which is $6,000, because of his other health issues and risks, that they said it wouldn't be worth it. And so they had to put him down this morning. He's gone now. Oh, it's so sad, man. And, it's so sad too, as, like when you're trying to save your dog's life and stuff like that, and you're doing all of that and paying all this money. They were doing all the chemo. He just got his last treatment. And that is kind of like my thing against the whole, chemical assault against the chemical assault. Like, you've got filled me with chemicals, and now you want to put more chemicals in to try and detoxify those chemicals so I get better. I think I need to just detox all the chemicals out, And so that's how I keep looking at it. And I know there's something going on with her, not just the personality changes. There's a lot of different things ever since this last episode. And that plant medicine, which I ended up taking yesterday, because those the candy things, they would only make your headache stop hurting for a while. And I think it's the frequency and the chemicals that is causing it. And so I think it is a lot with the frequency. I think that is probably bothering her too. But so with her, this morning after that happened, and she's having me get her treats and all that stuff. And then after Petey went and Stella's laying here crying. And so I went and I put her some RSO on, because I was trying to save the RSO for sleeping, but it made no difference. I gave her RSO yesterday twice. She didn't even go to sleep. It was just like, oh my God, I had given her all the Benadryl, which I don't want to get any more Benadryl or melatonin, but I had given her what was left, which was stressing me out anyways, because that GR stuff has been found on all of the stuff. And, I know she's outside all the time. She's breathing in all this stuff that they are dumping on us. And then she's getting all over her fur. Her fur has all fallen out. Her hair is so thin. It is so crazy. And but that one eye that keeps doing the weird thing, and sometimes I'll look over at her and this eye's doing its like separate thing. I'll be like, oh my God, is she possessed? What is going on? Is this a spirit that's in her, an energy that is like trying to assault her? And is she targeted because they're trying to shut down the awakening? And so they know that there's people here to push it forward. And so like I've said before, it is a spiritual battle. So that I don't take that stuff off the table at all. It's some attacking kind of thing that is the dark energy that is trying to hold back the light to be assaulting her, because it's a lot easier target, especially if she's already sick and feeling bad. That's the problem, like with drinking and stuff. You put yourself into a lower kind of form, or a lower of your spirit kind of controlling what's going on. And so many people, they don't even think they have any control. So they've already given up control on that part. And so it's real easy to take them over. That's one of the problems with so much alcohol abuse. But anyways, so when I went in to give her the treat, and she was looking up at me, just all jolly and happy, waiting for her treat. And this one eye was all big and regular looking, and this other one was kind of like, and I was, it was totally, totally different. And then she keeps shaking her head, and then she tries to scratch this. So now it's like, so, it could, I want to stick with just inner ear infection, but they've just, ever since they said that about the brain tumor thing, and knowing how many dogs have cancer right now, like, it is insane. Everybody's got cancer, and everybody's animals have cancer. And so the likelihood of her having something in her growing, and it could be in her ear, and it's affecting, and there's something to with her nose. And so sometimes when she starts trying to play her game that she loves always is tug of war, and she'll get something, she shakes it, and it reminds me, because when I watch her, I just think of her being a predator animal, and how she shakes it, and and it's just her favorite thing. And I think it's kind of like her internal instinct, because that side of her, that part of her soul, just like a kind of these souls that come in and get confused over what body they're in or something, and they feel like a man even though they're a woman and stuff like that. So it is just kind of like a memory, a soul memory kind of thing of, you're not just this. And so anyways, I've said before, I feel certain she's the soul. I mean, she's like my spirit animal, my familiar, a spirit animal that we go through different lives and learn from each other. And I know that she's the one who ate me all that time ago. I know she was a predator, and I just feel certain that that's why she's going through all of these different physical issues, is so she's expanding her consciousness, and she's growing empathy and compassion. She's learning about pain and all sorts of stuff. And then she has somebody like me, a teacher, who will sit and spend the time and not feel crazy having whole conversations. Like right now, she's totally listening to me. She was laying there like she's all getting on, says a sigh, and then she turns and she just is sitting there like totally facing me, listening to what I'm saying, because she knows, she understands most of what I'm saying. And even when you put together the words, even if they don't know the meaning of each word, they get the overall context. And one thing, and I don't know if I already said this on here, but when people talk about like they get visions, or they just get like an inner knowing, or they hear voices and stuff, I heard somebody talking about that the other day, and they keep saying like, well, you're clear this or clear that or something. I kind of feel like it is the different beings, it is a different communication, because some people think like everybody out there understands English or something. Every soul understands English. There is telepathy, is like the more international galactic language, is focused focused thought. And so I don't know, I think that there's different beings. Like I think the ones that speak to you in English and stuff know English. They know words. They're either your ancestors, your relatives, your friends that have passed out. It's people who understand that. People who, and then the ones who just put thoughts into your head, I think is their communication of telepathy. And then ones that use that picture and stuff, like I said, they always will do those kind of pictures. It's kind of like they give you like a little movie in your head. And everything I look at, they're constantly giving me these expansions. It's kind of like you need to have time to yourself. Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of gets overwhelming. Like I was saying, even in a movie, like be watching and, it's like I see all this stuff from behind the scenes and stuff all the time. And it is, I don't know, a kind of, well, I mean, it is a part, there's nothing you can do about it. So it's not like you can just be like, it's so exhausting. It's just the way how the life is coming into my perception. It's deeper and more expansive ways of seeing things. And, it probably is going to have to be my own way of reasoning and technique to try and come up to a way of finding balance or controlling the mechanism so that I'm not overwhelmed by the deeper view of life and of experience. And, because I see it so much more. I just see so much more than what a lot of people see. And even when I try and share it, I just know that a lot of people don't understand what I'm saying, because you have to see it in order to understand it. And so, like I've used the one before, analogy or whatever, like a 10th grader and learning what they're learning in school goes back and starts talking to a 4th grade class and telling them about what they're learning. They could hear it, maybe they could see it, but they don't understand it until they get up there and start doing it, and then they get a deeper understanding of it. So, it is all part of the journey of learning. There's steps to the process. One thing too is, so of course, already people are like, there's no way Newsom won again. There's no way Patty Murphy won again. Like, no, there's not. It was never going to be, they're going to keep these criminals in there. They're not going to get them out. Doesn't matter how many people go. All you're doing is giving those people, power in your life. You're giving over your control. It is their whole voting thing, all of it is just to keep you playing the game. And all these people who just keep playing. But so many people, I saw a lot of videos like, I went and did it, but I really, I don't think that it really matters. Stuff. So a lot of people were really getting that strong insight, even when they went to do it. So that kind of diffuses that situation. It is the people who are all pumped up, who are very divisive, like, definitely we have to be red. Like, it's the same people in the head of both teams. It doesn't matter which one you choose. It's all the same evil that is, back in the whole system. So the people who are putting in so much, faith in the system is going to be what saves us. And then the voting and so, like, that's not going to save anything. That is just part of their trappings to keep you thinking you have control or power in your life, so you continue to play the game. It's like throwing you a bone every time you whine and complain or something. And then they even put it on a feeding time, just like all of their feed. Oh, just keep them fed here. Just every couple hours, just throw them a bone, throw them a bone. And then also some of their bones they've thrown us are literally dramas, like dramas of distraction. So people will get all caught up in the drama. Like, I swear to God, is the whole reason they pull Ben Affleck and J-Lo back in. And those two, like, desperate has-beens are just like, oh, we got to get back out there on the stage. Please, get me out there. And so then they, even if they don't like each other, it's like, it's a matching. It's a matching that people will like. It's a matching to get people's attention focused on something else. And they do that all the time with these Hollywood couples, and they've been doing it all the way back to like Cary Grant and stuff. They've been using that kind of stuff to get people caught up in these relationships and stuff. And, but the whole thing is that the relationships aren't for positive. They're just drama. So, I mean, they've already been showing like J-Lo. These are things that I'll just see. Like, I don't go and search what's going on with J-Lo and Ben. But then you see, like, oh, here they are already fighting at the game. He's talking to this girl and she's getting mad and all this stuff. That's all they want to do. I mean, they fucking wrote that fucking Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston thing. Like, I swear to God, they still do. I saw a headline the other day. Jennifer and Angelina on the phone conversation. And I swear to God, I think somebody just makes this shit and takes like CGI and stuff. Like, some of the stuff is so absurd. But they don't really need the real people. It's kind of like you sign the contract, then it's okay. Like, they can make their CGI character of the name you've signed, the creation of the being that they have promoted and paid for. And so then they can use that how they want. So, it's a lot to pull free from there. Pull free for your own identity, because, they want to control the entire being, and just use it as a puppet. You see all these politicians who have done it. They're just fucking puppets. Like, it's so crazy that I mean, just seeing some of them with all these stupid commercials that'll be the good thing. Now the election's over, but they'll start right away. We'll already start with the 2024 election. Like, oh my God, we'll have like a couple months break, and then they'll be right back attacking each other back and forth, showing what the great things they did and the horrible things this other guy did. This is getting heavy. I was wondering if I'd be able to make it. Once it starts feeling like it's bouncing, it feels like 100 pounds on my head. And plus this whatever headache thing is causes like my neck, and that is my weak spot, because that's where my scoliosis was twists really bad. But I am really working on straightening my spine. And one thing that I think is I can't even tell you how much this is helping everything about me. Like, there is something about the movement, your chi. There's definitely something about that. Like, making your chi bigger it makes you feel better. Like, there's something to that focus on your energy, and like, it's like focusing. Oh, man, this stuff is hard to explain, because it's just like a spiritual focus. It's like not a focus that you do in the 3D. That's why, like, you got to move out of the dollhouse. You don't need to have something to look at. You can create it. You can visualize it. You can understand it. And, with all these people that can't visualize and stuff, but what is visualization? It really, don't try and, if you can't see the pictures, don't convince yourself that it has anything to do with the pictures. You can tell yourself, you can just say, I see this, I see myself, I see it. Like, to me, I just see this stuff, but it isn't seen. Sometimes I've had where a vision is like, it is so right there that it feels like you're seeing it with your physical eyes. And it's weird. That is weird. But when I'm doing just like a regular, it's like all of a sudden, like a movie, it's like a tunnel or a movie opens up and kind of expands out. It's like all of a sudden, like a book, a knowing, and it's something, a chapter, something that makes you understand something, that all of a sudden it's like you can see the whole thing. You see it all at once. And that, my understanding of this way, this visualization thing, that is how I get my perception or understanding of life in itself, how it is a dream. This physical place I see as a bubble in the ocean, just different bubbles all over the place, all different experiences. And it's all different realms, all in different densities. So, but we are, we're energy, we're spirit. Like, there isn't all of those, it's just, things are so much less physical. If the physical creation is the creation of our own minds, it's the density, is when the atoms and stuff go slower and slower. So in order to come into experience this physicality, it is a lower dimension, because all of the atoms and stuff have to go slower so that they can create the being to go into it's like going into a storybook, just like how that expands. Like you could, I mean, some people could think like they're looking into the Akashic records. Like, I don't know how every single person perceives. I just know that, you're going to see this thing, but it is like further away. It's like you're looking at something that is out there. It's like kind of watching a movie from further back. But it's weird. But, there's so many different ways of communication. The reason I talk about it a lot is because it was like it came so naturally to me when I heard people talking about it. I thought it was some super spiritual gift or something. When people were talking about psychic and medium and all of that different stuff and channeling. And I really thought like they must be doing something, because I thought we all lived the same. I thought we were all talking all the time. And then when I realized like, oh, so all those people are just doing what I'm doing. And that's something that everybody else can't do. And that, but to me, I am all about, I'm not like, oh, here, I've got the special, everybody come over here because I've got the, no, I'm trying to tell everybody, no, don't just listen to everybody else's answers, because everybody's got very specific answers. Like, they tell me way more stuff about my own life, but you got to, let me think what I was saying, because as soon as I say, they tell me way more stuff about my life than it's like, oh, all this stuff and the people. It is so funny too, because, it takes a lot for people to understand, like when things start happening on a spiritual kind of realm or something, and it can seem like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it doesn't make any sense in this 3D world. And it is also crazy is when you have somebody's spirit coming and hanging out with you all the time and talking to you and, showing up and telling jokes and all sorts of stuff like that. And then it makes you think like, do they know? Like, how much are they aware of what their spirit's doing in its spare time? Like, do they know what it's doing, or are they focused on something in the 3D and have no awareness of this? Like, it is, there's just so many interesting things. And I know I'm way too focused on the spiritual stuff and not focused enough on the 3D stuff. And I know that we're here for the 3D experience, but I know there's a reason why I'm in an in-betweener. Like, I can look at this, I can focus on it, I can see it. And when you're all caught up in it, I know it's a painful place to be. But, I'm not of it. I'm of this other world. I'm of the spirit world. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I've been this person who's always coming and hanging out with me and talking to me and showing up in my dreams and stuff. As far as I'm concerned, I've been faithful to this person. It will be the date that they first showed up was 11/17/2017. It's marked. It's marked in my mind. So it's almost the anniversary of, and it's weird too, because then you start thinking, why is the universe showing me? But they tell me, like, that's what I'm saying. They show me and tell me all of this stuff. Like, when you start communicating, you get so much more information about your life. When you go into communication with them and directing you, and they're telling you and explaining to you and what you need to work on, what you're supposed to focus on, then, and it's kind of like this training, and you are kind of training for what position you came into play. But, so much of the time people are trying to force something else. They're trying to make something else happen. They're not tuned in to their soul. They're busy trying to take action in their life and create what they want it to be. But when you take it down a notch and you spend more time slowly, mindfully, going in and being introspective and talking to yourself, then you are being led, and things go so much more smoothly. Like, that was so crazy yesterday because I was so torn on the grocery shopping, and I just kept being like, I wasn't. I just keep being like, I just don't want to go. For one thing, it always is, like, especially when there's chaos with all these drivers. And you go and it's not something that you're used to driving. And both Linden and Bellingham, the roads are the roads are ridiculous. I mean, the same in Spokane and all these different places. I don't know who these road people. That's a part of my whole thing with these city planners, these developers. They're so fucking corrupt. But in both of the places, you have to drive through all through town. You got to go through one ways and, yeah, weird turns where it's like you go and turn, but you can go in different directions, those kinds of streets. And there's a whole bunch of arrows, all that, and a lot of traffic. And it's just kind of like, ugh. I mean, it's like a lot to do because, when you have a brain injury, it is way too much overstimulation because you can't process everything fast enough. And so it wears your brain out. And it's like, I don't want to just go. I'm so much more into a quiet life. Like, I want to travel for sure, but I'm a state highway. Like, I want to travel, go the back roads and go talk to people in little towns and, hang out and go to festivals and enjoy life. And then, live in a small little community, like a little farming community where you have your own little, I mean, it just seems like fun things, even like going and doing pumpkin contests, who grew the best pumpkin. Like, I see totally why people start doing that kind of stuff. Like, what a fun thing to do instead of like, what do we have now? People going and getting videos of themselves drunken with their everything showing, and I can't remember how many people they slept with. I mean, our world has become so jaded. When it used to just be, people would compare who grew the best pumpkin, who could make the best cherry pie, those kinds of things. That's more of the heart and soul of the experience. And then getting into this Sodom and Gomorrah, soulless world that we've got going here, like the consumption even of the human avatar, just devour it, all of this is with the consumption of porn. Like, as this all goes on, the more and more that comes out about that, I mean, we really were like, it is shocking how much people have devalued themselves sexually as a sacred being, as a divine person. And so they've just, they don't. How in the world do we have a world where we think that we can go out and find love when nobody loves themselves? Like, who's going to be giving the love if we don't love ourselves? It all starts from within. That we have to learn to love ourselves first. And when we love ourselves first, then we're not looking for love out of other people. We're giving from our heart freely because we feel good about ourselves, because we loved ourselves, because we've accepted ourselves. Nobody's perfect. It's the hump to get over, to realize that you're not perfect and that you have flaws, and you have to just accept your flaws. And you have to accept this experience as a journey to, maybe alleviate some of your flaws, to learn more about yourself, to expand yourself. And so everything has so much purpose, but it is, but it's such an individual journey. And part of the whole thing, is people become dependent on another person. But that's why I'm always trying to tell people, like, you got all the information inside of you, and you got to get comfortable with your information. You can't be like, oh, my information doesn't match that person's information, so their information is probably right because I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I mean, the way that people put themselves down, like, I can't even tell you how many girls come on and apologize. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for how I look today. God, oh my God, don't even look at me. Don't look at me at all. Just listen. I was like, what? What in the hell? Like, it's so crazy. Like, I can go and I can look at a lot of videos and be like, especially whatever's going on with my eyes and stuff, it keeps morphing. And I think about that girl that one day saying that there's beings that are making things morph. So when you're looking at yourself, your hair, and so I see that when I see it now, I'm always thinking about that. And yesterday I did go live, and it's so funny because it has been such a fear of mine. Doing this has been such a fear of mine since I was younger, speaking to the public or whatever. Even though that they're not all sitting here looking at me, and still, it's very intimidating when you start doing this. And you can see, like, there's people, creators and stuff that have been doing it for a long time, and they're still really stiff. There's people who get just completely consumed with fixing their hair, their makeup, and stuff like that. To me, it's like, ooh, I better get over that. Gotta just let go of that because, we're not perfect. We're not going to look good every single second of the day. And if I'm going to be sitting there so consumed with like every single thing about my face, and sometimes I've gone back and seen TikTok videos. I've got like stuff going all over my face, but I can't see it. And I could take it down, like, oh, I've got to look perfect. I can't look bad. But then it's like, but it's more important to be real because we all look like shit sometimes. We all have smudges on our face. We all have had a booger hanging out of our nose. We've all had a piece of food in our teeth. And by the way, it's weird. I feel like my teeth are turning darker, but I'm not going to be one of those old people who I don't like. When people have dentures and they have these big white teeth and they're old, it just looks so fake. It just looks weird. Like, I think that there's a natural progression to aging and that people keep fighting it. And so they fight this part or fight that part, and then everything just starts looking out of sync. I think that you just got to let nature do its thing. And I know, we're going to get this great opportunity to have those cellular bed things to rejuvenate all of our cells. And so that is going to be, but that is going back to more of a natural state because we're being so interfered with right now with the chemicals and all of that stuff. It's just so sad too. My daughter now with their dog dying. And there was more stuff I wanted to say about that. So you've got a lot of stuff. Because I also wanted to talk about the going live thing. The thing with my daughter too, I just wanted to say because, the animals that are leaving, when she was saying that, I was kind of, when I picked up the phone and I started to text her back, and as I was texting it, I saw, oh, her message was at 2:22 in the morning. So it's happening right now. And so I texted her, and as soon as I texted, she called back. And so I was talking to her, she's bawling, and her husband, her and him are split right now. But he's sitting there, Petey's there, just kind of like, sick. And then so she said that they had to put him down right then. She told me everything that was going on, and she was crying and crying. And so then I was like, of course I'm sad and have condolences, but of course they're always showing me all this stuff, and it may not even be anything about hers. But when something like that happens, I was like, oh my gosh, so that will prevent her from going to work all this week while all this stuff is going on. Like, does that mean there was going to be something bad? Like, there literally is people passing to how everything works together, like the fabric of life, the divinity of timing, and our roles in each other's life. I mean, it is so, like, there is people who would be passing in it. So you're so traumatized and so focused on that it keeps you safe from the other situations that are happening because you have some role that you still are going to continue to play in the game. And so, again, and if it is like a brother or something, somebody who's super close to you who passes, and, then that changes your life. And then you're like, oh my gosh, did they martyr themselves for my own growth? But remember that they are always coming back. They're always with you. And that is never, ever it make you feel better when somebody leaves, the pain of loss. But that is part of the process. That's why coming to earth is such a unique experience, because of the process of loss and the whole understanding of the concept of death, because that's all created so that you can experience loss. And when you experience loss, then you are just flooded with your own stuff. Like, oh my God, why did I say that? Oh, I should have done that. Oh my God, I can't. And like when it's a dog, right away, oh, I cannot believe I was so impatient. Oh my God, I cannot believe I should have just took him for a walk that day. Oh, you're just flooded with all of this stuff where you have to keep looking at you start feeling so beat down, like, oh my God, you worthless person. Oh my God, it is a party that will drown you, going into a pity party and feeling horrible about yourself and just jumping on the wagon train of beating yourself down. You've got to pull yourself out of that. Like right now with all the stuff she's going through, and then on top of it, that where you're just going to start being bombarded. Like, to me, I mean, when Lucy died, I was like, oh my God, I was so sick about, I can't believe I was going and leaving and riding my bike, spend all day to get to the shop, go in the shop just to sit around there, just to say I was at the shop, and ride my bike back, and all that time to do a bunch of bullshit, nothing. I mean, I got exercise, I was in good shape, but still, the it was time away from Lucy. And so when she died, you're totally reevaluating that time. And so all those things with loss, and that was, a dog. I mean, there's people's relationships right now that are tragedy stuff happening. I mean, there's so much parents losing children, and all of the process that goes with that. And everything leads back to feeling like a failure. But that is the process that we're supposed to be going through right now. Is that, I feel like a failure. I feel like the most rotten son of a bitch in the world. I feel like nobody would, if anybody knew me truly, nobody would really like me. But see, that is because you've got to go in and you've got to start liking yourself. You got to find your own value. You got to see what is inside of you that is worthy and loving and stuff. And then when you start seeing yourself through loving eyes, you start seeing everybody through loving eyes. But it really is. It's the people think that it is something out there. If everybody else changes, but the only way to change things is when we all change individually. And we take responsibility for ourselves and we empower ourselves for change. And right now, part of their process of keeping people asleep is to disempower them, keep them feeling low, keep them feeling hopeless, helpless. They've got no purpose in life. They're a burden. They're a burden to community. Go kill yourself and stuff like that. So they want to keep you in a place of having no value to yourself or anybody else. Keep you in a place of division and fighting. But you have to recognize with your soul. That's why your soul has to get turned on. You have to stop focusing on what they want you to focus on and start focusing on what your soul wants you to focus on. And believe me, when you get there, your soul is cheering. Your soul is so excited to see you and, communicate with you and help you figure out where you're supposed to go. And it is such a very gentle communication in most cases. There is so much about reading the signs. They're communicating all the time in signs, and they use music and all sorts of stuff. They use all sorts of different tools, divination tools or whatever. Like for me, tarot, like when I see these people ridiculing tarot, I always think like, what do they use tarot for? Like tarot isn't telling you the future. Tarot is when you're communicating with the other side and you have already a direction. You have a view in your mind. You are being shown something, and then you want physical evidence. And a tarot will give you, a direction. They'll say, oh, yeah, this is what you're doing. Yeah, this is where you need to go. This is what's going on. And it is a confirmation. And when it is, it's not to tell you, that you have to go do this to make this. It is, to me, I see it as a confirmation. Like, I don't go and listen to a tarot girl and her say, this is what you're going to do. And so then I go do it because she said. No, it is things are happening or being done or said to me. And then it is like, okay, so what are you guys telling me? And then a tarot thing will pop up and I'll go in and listen. They'll tell me which one, because I really start doing the pick a card ones all the time, because the other ones just fucked with my head. Like, not everybody in the world's getting the same message. So, like, but they're so consistent with their message. It doesn't matter what different person I listen to or anything. Like, the same cards come out. Like, to me, that's magic. And then they're constantly giving me the same messages over and over and over. So to me, I hear communication. And that's why I'm always like, what I don't get what other people are doing. Like people are waiting for someone to tell them their future instead of listening inside. Like, you have communication inside of you that you need to go to first. You don't go outside of you first. You don't go straight to the tarot cards. Like, what am I going to do next year? Let me know so I can start doing it. No, you got to start doing it. And then if you are curious or have doubts or you want to know more or whatever, then it's like, okay, so I'm doing this and I'm going to do that. Like, is this am I doing the right thing? And then when they come in and they say, okay, you're doing this, you're doing that, and they want you to know that this is what they want you to do. They want you to also look at this. Like, that's the kind of stuff. And, they want you to be aware of this. And if it doesn't resonate, like, there's a lot of times that somebody will say something, I'll be like, well, that part's not to me, because it has nothing to do with anything in my life, because it is a general reading. So it is, you are sitting in on a lot of different messages. So then you don't take every single message. It's like, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. No, you got to weed through, just for your communication back, your answers back. And, I see mine as being consistent. So each person has their own relationship with their guides. And it's a development. And it's a development just like any other relationship. It's based on the time and effort you put into it and the trust. Like, so many people don't trust, and so many people are so much more caught up in somebody thinking they're crazy. And so then they don't want to do it. Like, they're not going to think the TV's talking to them. They're not going to think that someone's talking through the radio. They're not going to think that someone's, showing them visions or speaking in their, and they're sure not going to go around telling people, because then right away people are like, you need medication. That's mental illness. It's like, well, it's only mental illness because they told you it's mental illness, because really it's real life. Because this is really what's happening. And that is, right there, that just shows you the evilness behind these people. The people who were the most connected to the other realms, and they just start medicating them and putting them in hospitals and telling everybody they're crazy, don't listen to them, don't listen to them. And then getting those people so confused, thinking, that they are crazy, and then they're totally under attack by these spirits. So many of the spirits that go on an attack of the schizophrenics and stuff like that are constantly, like, they're always referring to them like demons. Like, they're surrounded by demons all the time. And they're always just beating them down, telling them you're worthless, everyone hates you, you may as well just kill yourself. That kind of messages over and over and over in their head. Loud. And I have had that. We're the loud talking. Like, the other day when I said that I've had a few really intrusive spiritual attacks throughout this thing. Even the jabbing into my head, that keeps happening. I don't know what is going on with that. So, but what was I gonna say? The spiritual attacks. There was something I was gonna say about that. Spiritual, I can't even remember. Sometimes it just goes blank out of my head. But anyways, there is the schizophrenics. Anyways, I think it is just shitty what they have done to those people. Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, when I was a psych nurse, when I had to go through all that kind of training and stuff, there was this machine thing. It was like a virtual world, and you put on this thing, and everything was the screen thing, but the screen was on here, but it made it seem like with the three-dimensional thing or something, made it seem like you're in a room. So it was this virtual world or something, and it was to show you what it's like for a schizophrenic person. And everything was talking to him, and it was really loud and stuff, and it was mean and degrading, and so the when I had heard that, it just reminded me of when I was a kid and I got scarlet fever, and I had the high temperature, and I started hallucinating, and I jumped out my bedroom window, and the being, whatever, it was some sort of being that was attacking me. It started chasing me. And they could get up close. Like, it's not really like a physical chase. It's a mental chase. They're in your head. And the loudness of their voice was so loud, so much different than the whispers. The whispering is really where you do have to quiet your mind in order to hear what they're saying. And I think so many people think that's their own thoughts coming in somehow. Their brain's just up there busily creating thoughts for them. But so that comes in like a whisper, but this came in intrusive. It's like an intrusiveness. And as a kid, I didn't know to tell him to get the fuck out. Get out of my head. You have no business here. But, it's very scary for how, because it feels like they're right behind you when they're like yelling at you. This guy, he was yelling, so like I think he was gonna kill me. He was gonna get me. He kept saying all that stuff, and I could feel the pressure, and I could feel him like right behind me, and I'm running and running, and it was I think it was like 10:30 at night, but it seemed like it was the middle of the night. It could have been 11 or 11:30. I don't know. But I ran across the street. Everybody's lights were off everywhere, so it had to be kind of late, and people were asleep. And so I was pounding on doors, just like in the scary movies. And so I go off running, and it sounded like he was right behind me the whole way. And he's yelling that he's going to get me, he's going to kill me. And so I start running down the alley. And then I saw someone's lights on and a bunch of people. And I ran up to them, and I started pounding on their thing. It's so funny. It's just like something out of a scary movie. And then I guess I started telling them I was scared of my dad. And then they went out, and it was a preacher apparently. And he went out and started talking to my mom and started saying she says she's scared of her dad. And so my mom was like, oh, she's just having a nightmare. She didn't know. But that was when the seed was planted to my mom. But my mom always, everything that happened, she always turned it and blamed it on me. I had something wrong. And, my mom grew further away from me. I mean, it really was kind of like if most of the interactions was her, like she'd slap me, or uh, she just always showed just completely disgust with me. And I think that is something that has haunted her. I think she has a harder time getting over that kind of stuff of, what I was going through as a kid, and her being more self-involved, or almost it was like choosing sides, like to not be on my side. It always felt like there was nobody on my side. But and then I did tell her, but I was 16. And then, it's kind of like, then it kind of all becomes about them, but I get it. Like, yeah, you're married to this person who's perving on everybody, perving on your own kids and stuff like that. That's gotta be, hard. And she was like very cut off. So all of those things are things you have to go back and face. Like, why was I so cut off? Why was I choosing her? Like, you have to look deeper, and there's reasons. People aren't just evil. There's something deep why somebody does it, based on some other pain from their childhood, some other deficit that was created from a painful situation for them. And so then it's just a reaction to when that something comes up, and then they react. And then, but all of that is put together so you can learn from it, so you can grow from it. So it's not there to make you feel bad about yourself or make you feel shitty, like you're the worst person in the world. Everybody is the worst person in the world, and everybody's the best person in the world. It all depends on what part of you that you are going to promote or put out there. Like if life is hard and then you are just, life's too hard, I'm just going to be a dick. That is your choice. Or is life hard and I'm going to make the best of it? I'm going to look at it as like everything I'm learning and the being grateful and the gratitude for being here and the gratitude for every moment. Like every time anybody passes, like people have got to realize the gratitude to life for every single experience, and even being birthed into this situation that it feels like, you have no control, you don't know where you are, you can't get out of it, and you have to just, stay on the train till it stops. There's so much that is out of our control, but that's part of the journey, part of the dust. That's part of the learning about that, part of the learning of this connection to your higher self and relaxing into destiny happening at the same time you were dealing with trauma after trauma after trauma, and especially right now, like the trauma is of 100% picked up, and they're going quick. And who knows? I think, I don't know about all the races. All I know is I've seen a lot of videos where people are either saying, that it seems stupid to go vote, or they were done voting, they're never voting again, or mad because the other person won that they didn't vote for, which that is going to be the biggest thing. That is going to be where people are going to start feeling just completely hopeless. Like, how do we ever get out of this? Well, the way out is for us to take our sovereignty, for us to take control of our lives, to be like, hey, we can feed ourselves. Hey, we don't need their money. Hey, we don't need their diplomas. Hey, we don't need this. We don't need that. All we need is to be able to go out there in the world and take care of ourselves. All we need is a little place, just like I say, I just want my own little farm, my own little peaceful place that I can go and, it's like your own little happy retreat place. So you can go and do what you want to do. In my case, I want to learn to do a lot of different things. Like there's so many things, like, to me, it's endless. I could come up with the millions of things to do, wanting to learn and experience. Like, I even thought what a fun thing it would be to do in a community, to get all the kids and to start like an outdoor theater, like a Shakespearean kind of outdoor theater with the kids, and then get the kids to write the stories. Like, they have to develop their own characters. They have to write the characters. Then after that, then they have to create, what is your character going to wear? So then they have to go through and create, like, learn how to sew, you create the outfit, and then what do you want the stage to look like? So then it's the creation of the stage, where they have to create the stage. And then, once they've done all this stuff and learned all of these different things and put them together, worked as groups, worked as teams, and developed this, and get them to start practicing of how to, write the story, and it kind of like improv and create the story. And then once they've mastered that, to do a performance and have people come for like a summer theater. I was like, that is the kind of stuff where I think kids would get so much more. It's the connection. It's when we all come together. We don't need all of this stuff that they're always wanting us to just divide and stay. They want us to be this singular energetic spark that they're in control of, but when we all come together, we're a giant flame, we're a giant bonfire that's out of control, that they don't know, we're a forest fire out of control. And that is what they worry about. But that's what we need to do. We need to stop thinking that we can, we got to stop giving them our power and our energy. We have to pull free. We have to know that there is way more to life than what they have to offer, and that we can create the life that we want for ourselves. And there's all sorts of space out there across this planet that we can go out and create it. And as long as we stay all jam-packed in their little controlled cities, in their little controlled environment, then we're going to continue to feel hopeless and helpless, defeated and sad, and we're going to keep experiencing loss, because we're on that timeline, the timeline of learning. Once we go into the timeline of prosper, of getting all the things you learn for it to start manifesting into your world. So this is part of the process, but each person needs to be, kind of focused on their own process. But, everybody is so, you can just see it's got to go through the whole like process, because you have to go in and you have to go through the experience of realizing where you are, and that you have no control, and that they are poisoning you, and then the whole seedy stuff behind it. And so you go through all of that, and your health, and everything, how it's all controlled. And then you got to go through, the fear of that. Like, so many people are so traumatized. Like, it's just hard when you're being poisoned all the time, and you keep trying to do things, and you keep getting sick. So that is definitely a difficult thing to get over. But anyways, I'm completely lost again. But anyways, all I know is that when we go and we pull free, and we say we want something different, but we don't need to have all what they have to offer. We can have a simple life. We don't need all of the sparkles and stuff that they offer. That life has value without all of their shiny glitter that they want to put on it. And life can be simple and beautiful, just to go in and experience and be around people that you love and want to be around. And so that is where we have to move into that value. And that is the whole thing with loss and stuff, why so many people are experiencing loss, because that shows you so much about the value of time and the appreciation of life, because so many people are so against life and so down and depressed. And so that's part of the process of what people have to learn. So now I've been talking a while, so I'll just go to the so yesterday when I was going to do the live, so when I started doing this, that was a huge thing to overcome, to speak publicly. That was like a huge thing for me. And so then once the live thing, but I always had, well, I had even told somebody before. It was one of the girls who's always talking about the chemtrails and stuff. And she was always going to go live and stuff. So I said, well, that'd be kind of fun if we did it together. And then she never said anything. So I didn't ever, say it to anybody else or whatever. And I was like, well, even if she didn't see it or she saw it, it wasn't meant to be. So just let go of it. And so then I would see all of the different problems with people going live and stuff. I was like, oh man, they're going in and taking down these lives. They're just looking for people to go live so that they can take them down. And, so I knew the lives were being really monitored, heavily policed. And so then not being able to see the comments and stuff, and then seeing the lives where the whole thing is just these people like, what? And then answering the, oh yeah, hi there. Oh, hi, yeah, hi, Oklahoma. I was like, what the hell? Like, that is not interesting. So I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, and I can't even see. Like, I have to put on my specs and get done on what? To try and see this little tiny writing. And so then I was like, So I just kind of kept putting it off. But then when somebody said, do it, then it's like, oh, have I been putting it off because I'm scared? Because that does bring up all of this, like, oh, live, oh, God, But I'm like, I'm alive doing this. I'm just recording it, but I'm still like, I'm not stopping and editing and doing this and that, and just get on and start talking. And so, when I got up yesterday morning, I had all of the account stuff. They're still doing it to me too. But they're doing it to a bunch of people. So they're hot on our trail of taking down the account stuff, just restricting us. And there's all sorts of things. Like my last video has like 30 fucking views. It's so ridiculous. Like when I had like 5,000 followers, I had more views and stuff than I do now. Now is, got almost 30,000, and it's barely, I'll get up in the morning and it's like 10 notifications or something. It's like, it's so manipulated. It's so ridiculous. And And then plus when you go in and you see like you have to keep refollowing people, you try and like something, your likes go out, you know that that's being done to yours. And I've seen that stuff happen on mine where it'll be something and then it'll just disappear. So they're so manipulative. But then when they started doing that yesterday morning, giving me all of these account warnings and stuff, and then I knew they weren't going to let me do the music, which is so frustrating too, because other people, they can be doing music, but to me, I'm going against whatever that's called again. I can't think of it. Um, Copyright. I'm breaking copyright laws. Well, other people are, they can do whatever they want, but I'm breaking the law, breaking the law. So then I was like, so I told the girl who was going to be the moderator what was going on, and she said, man, it would really be good even if we can't do all that to still go live just to try and help build people up because they're really pushing for people to be depressed. They're really wanting this to just crash people's spirits and stuff, so we decided that we were going to go ahead and go live, and I would just talk and she would moderate. And so that is what we did. And so I was expecting, like, because she told me her client was done and she would be ready at 4:30, but it was at 3:30 that she said, okay, she was ready. So maybe I was just off on the time thing. I don't know, but she sent me a message and I was expecting an hour later. So I was just sitting there chewing and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm chewing. So let me finish that and, rinse my mouth out. And so then I'll set up. And I had mostly everything ready. Like I was expecting to do it, but I thought it was going to be like an hour. So we got started and I could see people coming into the room. Like I could see the flashes of that, but I can't read what everybody's saying. So I just start talking and just start talking, just like I do. And so I just kept talking and talking and talking. And then my phone flashed and said, you have 20% of your battery left. And that was the other thing, too. I had meant to charge my battery. I had charged it for a while, but then I think while I was waiting, I started doing something. That's something. TikTok just absorbs you. Like, you forget everything else in the world. You just start going and flipping through, looking at videos. And so I kind of wanting to read the room, like what's the mood? How's people feeling out there? And so then it popped up, at 20%, which it was kind of like I really, like my lips were getting chapped, my throat was getting dry, and I was just like a machine. I just couldn't stop talking. I swear to God, sometimes I feel like the dancing shoes. It's just like, I can't stop. And so I was, just talking and talking and talking, and Stella demanded to go in and out a couple of times. And so it must have been the last time when I stood up and I saw it was totally black outside. And then I saw it was like 6 o'clock or something. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been talking hours. And even after I have finished, because I just kept talking until it just went off. So I just kept talking and it went so much longer than I thought it was going to go. I couldn't believe it. And, I was mid-sentence when it went off. I'm telling you, it is, they just tell me stuff. I just keep saying the stuff that they're telling me. And because I don't know how to just sit there and say all this stuff. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about most of the time. I'm trying to explain stuff that I see or understand. And it's very limiting the way, but anyways, when they started doing that, so I was just talking and talking, and then when I saw it was totally blackout, and so I closed the curtains, and so then, but my phone was completely dead, went off, so I had to plug it in and then get it to charge a little so I could turn it on, and then I went in and looked, and that girl, she was going to bed. It was intense, but she said it was so good. She said, I was saying really good stuff. And she said that it was helping the people. She said we had 1,500 likes at one time. So I don't even know what all that means. I would think we had a lot of people in the room at different times. But so a lot of people were coming in and listening. She said that people kept saying it was making them feel better. They didn't feel so alone. And And that is my whole thing is don't get caught up in the drama and stuff. Like when you reel it down and you take a minute and you start looking at it from broader perspectives, it gives you so much more clarity. It's just they want to keep us in that emotional derailment of keeping us attached to their trauma and their drama. And so but it is everybody's soul has to recognize that. It has to see, like, this is some bullshit. This sucks, man. This isn't what I want. And then for me, it started coming naturally. Like the simple life, That's the life. That's the life for me. That was Green Acres. I love that show. My favorite shows, and these, I was thinking about this the other day, and my shows that I loved, like I did like Leave It to Beaver, but I liked it, but it wasn't like I wanted to get in to see the Brady Bunch. I was like really into the Brady Bunch, and I loved Peter. I had a big old crush on him, and I wanted to be Jan. And then she was like my age, and so then but Dick Van Dyke, oh my gosh, that show, and I Love Lucy. I really love those shows. I would always feel like I thought I was those people. It was weird, and Jerry Lewis. But then I loved the like Roddy McDowell was my first crush. I thought he was the cutest thing in the whole wide world. And but I loved the old horror movies and stuff. So that was the stuff that I watched. I thought he was so cute. And then Green Acre or Beverly Hillbillies. I loved that one, Beverly Hillbillies. And I Dream of Jeannie. And what was that other one that I was singing? Bewitched. I loved Bewitched. I would think I was her all the time too. And it's so funny. But I was thinking about those shows, and like that was a period of time. That style, that whole thing was just a period of time that is a lost time. It's already gone. Like we can't even repeat it. Even when they try and do things and repeat certain things, it's like it captured that moment. You're trying to recapture a moment that was already captured. And I feel like really fortunate for some of those things to get to experience some of those things. And those shows were so much more about, I don't know, it kind of, it taught you to, like, there was a wholesomeness, like there was a family structure. There was like, life wasn't so serious. It was have some fun. Like there was some things that were a lot more healthy. Now the stuff what kids have to grow up on is like, oh my God, compared to the stuff I gotta have to grow up on, and what people now do is like, oh my gosh, is just sad. But it wasn't just the shows. It was like the whole culture. It was like the whole era. And it was a really beautiful time. And I had no idea what a great time it was until we moved past it and got into this, really wicked, soulless time. That you start seeing like, oh my gosh, that there is such a distinct separation between the time of the experience. Like if you came in and got to experience that, it was an experience that like my kids don't have any idea of what it was like to grow up and have more wholesome stuff on the TV, not to have somebody having sex every 2 seconds shoved down your throat, and wanting them to decide what gender you are in the first grade and shit like that. It's like, I thought I was a boy. I don't know. What am I? Like, these poor kids, like, how horrible what they are going through. This is going to be a time when we pass it and we look back that is going to be very, very defining, and especially for how many people have judged the older generations, and then to see like what their generation has done. See, we haven't got past that. We haven't gotten into getting for them to get to see. Like we can look back and see our mistakes. Like, perming our hair in the 80s was a big mistake. We should have just kept that 70s, that 70s rocker hair, and, stayed in our heart and soul and peace and love. And, but, we had to go through the loss of all of that. We had to go through to see, if we're not focused on peace and love, the opposite starts rearing its ugly head and takes over the minds of men, takes over the hearts and souls of many. So anyways, we've got to set the standard. But it was really exciting though too, after I finished, I felt so good. I felt so like pumped up in my soul. Like it feels so good when you know you're helping somebody and you're doing something good. It just makes you feel good in the world. Like, everything can seem horrible, but at least, you're giving people hope. You're giving people another perspective, because the perspective that they're offering, it just makes you want to kill yourself. Like, there's no hope. You have to see that there's hope. There's a whole nother world coming behind the one that is leaving. And, it's that we're in the process. And the process is for us, our benefit, so we can heal and grow, so that we can create a better world. So everybody's got to do their part, and everybody's got to get over their ego and worrying that someone's going to think they're crazy if they're talking to their soul, if they're talking to beings that aren't there. It's not crazy. It's just you're leaving the dollhouse. You don't need the dollhouse. You can move out of that and move into the realms of the unknown. It's your exploration of the worlds from beyond. So anyways, have a good time exploring, and I'm going to download this. I may even come back. Like, who knows, like, what this day is going to bring. I don't think I'm going to be posting anything on TikTok, because they were giving me more account warnings, and they're just looking for, anything I say. Like, they've gone in and taken down a bunch of videos and stuff, and, they don't want people to take control of their lives. They don't want them to take control of their health. They want them all just dependent and go down with the ship, which is just so strange. You think, just for their own karmic debt, they come out and say, hey, everybody, we just want to tell you, this is the truth. Go out there, do this, and start working on you. And, because we're in this big change, and the whole world's about to change. And if you don't work on you, you don't get to go. So, but they're not going to do that. They just want everybody to go down with them. It's just weird. But it is part of what has to go on. I mean, everybody gets a choice, and the choices aren't easy. You have to really know in your heart and soul that you can conquer. You're a warrior. You can win this. You can't let them beat you down. And it's a battle. It's a battle of your will, the battle of your soul, to keep going when all seems lost. Just keep on going and keep your eye on the prize. So anyways, I'll talk to you later.